It's Oscar day! Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back, and today I will be checking the 1954 A Star is Born off the 1001 movie checklist. If you don't know what the 1001 movie checklist or 1001 movie challenge is, it is basically a challenge I've given myself to check every single movie off the 1001 movies you must see before you die book. So far, I've checked 166 films off the list. If you want to know more, you can check out a playlist with an intro video and every single film I've checked off in the series so far up there. And if you would like to see me transform into Judy Garland from one of my favorite scenes in the film, there is a link in the description to go to my Patreon and you can see a full video of this transformation. And as always, let's get started with a short summary. Norman Maine, an alcoholic and aging film star, helps a young singer and actress find fame while watching his own career spiral downwards. So going into this film, obviously I would be comparing it, or at least making some comparisons, to the new one from 2018 starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I have a bunch of different things I found comparing the two of them, but it is its own film in its own way. While the most recent one and the third one focus on songwriting and singing and performing, the first one and the second one focus more on acting. I haven't seen the first one or the third one. I've only seen the most recent one and this one, but from a little bit of what I've researched, the first two focus more on acting and film, and they have Grammy, or not Grammy, the third and the fourth one probably have Grammy. I'm getting off track here. I know the last one has a Grammy segment, while this one has an Oscar segment that is still just as powerful and moving. So before I get into anything really big and researchy or just my thoughts on this film in general, I wanted to break down some of the comparisons I found between the two, or some of the things that I noticed. The first one is one of the most popular lines from the most recent one. It has been memed, and it's Bradley Cooper saying,
"Hey."
What?
I just want to take another look at you.
I believe it is a homage. It's something that is carried through all the films, I would guess. I'm not going to assume, I'm just going to guess, but if not, it could just be paying homage to this film, because Norman Maine does say that 2 times, very similar times to when Bradley Cooper's character says it to Gaga.
Hey. I just want to take another look at you.
There is also the aforementioned Oscar/Grammy sequences that just seeing that scene in this film where she's accepting her Oscar and Norman comes up drunk was so heartbreaking and beautiful, just the same as Bradley Cooper's performance at the Grammys. There was a couple scenes in this where you can feel the homage that Bradley Cooper was paying to this film, and maybe the other ones before it when he was writing and directing this. The Oscar scene is one that's very notable to me. The same when in the new one, it's Sam Elliott's character making this speech to Lady Gaga's character at the very end.
Listen to me. It isn't your fault. It just isn't. You know whose fault it was? Jack. That's it. No one else.
But in this one, it is Oliver Niles, the head of the studio, giving a couple different speeches, and her friend Danny also giving her another speech that's kind of similar. It's not the same, but it is just as powerful, making her think about how much Norman really loved her and how much he was trying, and her staying by his side was what was helping him try to be better.
Sympathy? That's not what you're getting from me, baby. You don't deserve it. You're a great monument to Norman Maine, you are. He was a drunk and he wasted his life, but he loved you. And he took enormous pride in the one thing in his life that wasn't a waste, you. His love for you and your success. That was the one thing in his life that wasn't a waste, and he knew it.
And finally, it's not the same performance, it's kind of just Judy Garland's character coming out onto stage and saying this one simple line But in the most recent one, Lady Gaga gives a very powerful performance at the end of the film that just made me weep. And the same thing in this film where Judy Garland comes out and says that one line, it still made me cry like buckets. But to me, it just didn't feel as powerful as the newest one. But it also could be Gaga's voice. It's just so powerful.
Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Norman Maine.
Hello, I'm Allie Maine. Thank you for being here tonight to honor my husband. He wrote a song for me. I'd like to sing it for him tonight. And with your help, maybe I can. Wish I could. I could have said goodbye. I would have said what I wanted to. Maybe even cried for you.
Two things, a very similar thing and a very different thing, I feel. The similar thing is the way the relationships between the two main characters are portrayed. They are just, I love the relationships in this film and in the most recent one. They are both just normal relationships, not something you would see in any other drama that was made now or even made back in the studio system in the 50s, where if there was a conflict, they would fight and break up. In these two films, they are very strong characters, and it's all about their bond between each other, how much they love each other, and how much they sacrifice for each other to be happy. Mostly on the side of the men, sacrificing their careers to help make their female counterparts become more famous and live their dreams. It's also just how much they love their wives in the end, and how much their wives love them back, that they are able to suffer through all of the alcoholism and end up with him committing suicide. The wives making a name for themselves and using what their husbands gave them to spread their message and to make their husbands live on even after their death. And then finally, something that I just did not quite feel connected with me as strongly as it did in the most recent A Star is Born is the death at the end. In this one, Norman just walks into the water and you see his robe floating around and you know what's going to happen. I did because I saw the newest one, but you still know what's going to happen because he's just walking away, and you see how he feels while he's overhearing Oliver's talk with Esther. It's very powerful, but at the same time, I feel like the way Bradley Cooper portrayed his character, not only as a director but as an actor, it was so visceral and real because it didn't feel pushed aside by being written as a headline and then literally shouted over by the publicity guy Libby as he's trying to make a story out of this. I love the way Bradley Cooper portrayed this at the end because it just made it feel more real, and that it is really something that a lot of people go through and needs to be talked about and thought about a little bit more often. There was some stuff that I wanted to talk about this film's past. Now, I didn't do a lot of research into the first or the third of these films, but while I was watching this particular one, there were stills that would come up and it was very strange to me. I was so confused. So I thought I had the wrong version of the film for some reason. I didn't know what was happening, so I scrambled looking for a reason why it was happening. I started looking for the actual film, and I found this. In 1983, A Star is Born was restored to its original running time. It was released at 181 minutes, but theater owners complained about the length. They wanted a shorter runtime so they could have more screenings of the film per day so they could make more money. And because of this, Warner Brothers shortened it, cutting out 27 extra minutes, and the footage was carelessly handled and lost or not even filed properly, and they had to go on an extensive search, and they were able to get about 20 minutes of the actual film and the original soundtrack and added it to the 154 minutes. The places where the film footage was not able to be restored or found, they used production stills instead.
And don't forget who makes better vocal arrangements for you. Better than anybody else in the world.
In his usual wonderful shape, huh?
You'll sleep it off on the plane.
And they still haven't been able to find that missing 7 minutes, which is why I was so confused when they were using stills with actual audio underneath. I was very confused. I think they said there was actually 2 other Judy Garland performances that were cut out and added into this, which is amazing. And now because of that, like Judy Garland, I want to talk a little bit about her, because this was her comeback after being kind of out of the spotlight for 4 years. It was just her big comeback. I really have not seen her in anything, I think, other than The Wizard of Oz, so maybe Meet Me in St. Louis. It's on the list, and maybe it'll be one I have to add next because I loved her performance in this. She has such a powerful voice. It's very similar to the way I felt about Lady Gaga's performance in the most recent one. Again, comparing the two, but they are very different performers. Gaga is a stage performer at heart, and Judy Garland has just this amazing musical voice. It's almost like a Broadway voice, but she is very great at just singing on film, and it captures this beautiful essence in her. And I also love how all of her emotions feel very real, and they're very tangible, especially in scenes where she is really upset or she's really happy. You can see it in her eyes how happy or sad she is. And there was one particular scene where she is talking to Oliver. It is after Norman has gone into rehab. Oliver comes to see her on one of her sets, and she just starts crying and telling him that she can't do it. But then she gets called to set, wipes her tears away, does her makeup up a little bit, and gets back out there and is smiling for the cameras once again.
You will be careful when you talk to him, won't you? You know.
Any tax on it, so just relax on it. If you are trouble double cross, don't give in to a friend.
Which is a sign of an amazing true actress, not only on screen but off screen as well, because Judy Garland was able to do that both as her character and as herself. And finally, I've talked about this multiple times, I love films that take a peek back behind the curtain. I think I talked about this when I did The Artist, and by doing this, it gives you a real look at what really goes on behind the scenes within a Hollywood film. You're not the perfect standard of beauty like a lot of people want you to be, so you have to change yourself to be on camera, and changing your name to something that's more memorable or easier to pronounce.
Well, first things first. Now, what else is there? Is that you? Off it comes.
Oh, now wait, don't. My nose is very bad. Esther Blodgett.
New here?
Yes.
Just a moment. Okay, your name is Vicky Lester. Your name is Vicky Lester. Vicky Lester. Vickilester. Get it? Move on, please.
To me, had the same feel as a lot of other films, more recently La La Land and Singing in the Rain. It has a great story of someone trying to come up in the industry, and I really love stories like that because it makes you just want to root for them, and it's showing you the hardships. If that makes any sense. I feel like I just went in a weird circle there. So with that said, I want to talk a little bit about the clip for today. There were two that I really wanted to do. The first one was when Norman first sees Esther singing with the band after hours, and then the other one was when Norman proposes to her. I chose that one instead because the emotions in it from both the actors felt so real, and it just made me so happy seeing it.
I was thinking about another kind of arrangement.
Another kind?
Uh-huh. Domestic. Will you marry me?
No, thank you. And I wondered and pondered.
Why not?
Well, you're irresponsible.
Go ahead.
My heart insisted.
Stop that. What else?
You drink too much.
I suppose I quit drinking.
And that is all I have for the 1954 A Star is Born. As always, these are just my opinions, but I'd love to know yours. Any comments down below. Let me know what your favorite version of A Star is Born is, if you have seen all of them, or if you have only seen the original one, or this one, or the Barbra Streisand one, or the Gaga one. Let me know what you think of any of them. Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to know which films I have watched so far, or just follow my progress along in general, there is a link to a Google Doc in the description down below with a list of every single film I have checked off so far, as well as a list on my Letterboxd, link in the description as well. And I am also an Amazon affiliate, so if you would like to start the challenge for yourself, purchase the film I talked about today, or purchase the film I'm going to be talking about next time, you can check the links in the description if you purchase anything from those. A little bit of a kickback will come to me, and it'll help make this channel even better. And so the film I'm going to be checking off next week is actually one that was requested as a bonus feature review for the month of January on my Patreon, but because it was on the list, I could not do it then, and I promised I would put it on the next slot in the 1001 movie checklist, and that is Robert Redford's The Sting. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really truly do appreciate every single one of you. Let me know who you're in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I love talking about things, movies, TV shows, filmmaking, mystery, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye!